Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the customer focus thing, it's funny. It's kind of like Star Wars from a certain point of view kind of thing, right? Chapek and a lot of these business oriented guys, they think like, well, we're allowing our guests to, make reservations and reserve a spot for the park and reserve a spot for the attraction. And on paper, it sounds great. It sounds customer focused. It's just not what in the implementation though. It's kind of the opposite effect. It becomes it's more of a hassle, right? So it's one of those things where like, yeah, on a spreadsheet, it sounds fantastic. It does feel very customer focused. And I'm sure Chapek and a lot of these guys really do believe it. They really do believe this is, a very customer driven approach. We're allowing the customer to kind of take control. But maybe I'm old school. I just want to show up when I want to show up, and I want to wait in line.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wait in line. I don't want to deal with the app and the mobile this and the mobile that. I just want to go and just wait in line for stuff and just, I don't know. That's how I grew up enjoying the parks, and that's how my mindset with this stuff. A lot of the technology, while on one hand does create convenience, but on another hand kind of creates more hassle and more hurdles, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, they are having people go through a lot of hoops right now. And remember when Chapek said, hey, our guest satisfaction surveys, they've never been higher. And remember what I said at that time? I'm like, uh-oh. that's not what you necessarily want to hear based on where the parks were at that time. Remember, we had no parades. I mean, we still really have no parades unless you go to Oogie Boogie Bash. We didn't have entertainment at that time. Now we have some fireworks in some parks, but the majority don't. There were just a lot of missing amenities that used to be in main station features at these parks that are missing, and it's like higher than ever. What does that mean? So I think you're right. I think they have convinced themselves what we're doing is great. It's fantastic. It's awesome. This is going to be great. But it's like, okay, well, you've stripped a lot of the features and everything for staying on hotel property. We're seeing we're seeing some attrition at the deluxe levels because of that for hotels, at least at Walt Disney World. We're seeing people have kind of different reactions when it comes to entertainment decisions and so forth. And those Christmas parties and Halloween parties are selling out, sure, but they've they've never been more expensive and never had less attached to them. And I just feel like, man, how sustainable are these practices? How sustainable is all this kind of stuff? And when it comes to reservations, look, yes, you do spread demand out, over the course of a year and so forth. But man, on like a granular level, on a daily level, what we're seeing is we're seeing these, key holders, at least at Disneyland Resort, just nab up all of these available dates just to have them, right. Very similar actually to the Indie effect. But we're seeing them grab up all these reservations, cancel at the last minute, and then maybe they have a reservation that day. They go that day, and they only come for a few hours. But meanwhile, somebody who wanted to go for an entire day gets left out in the cold. Now, I can't attribute that sourcing to myself. Actually, it's one of our dear friends of the channel. I don't know if he wants to be named in this specific context, but he informed me about these different things, and he's exactly right. We're seeing this feast and famine not on an annual basis, but we're seeing it on this daily basis. And how do you get around that? I mean, there were a lot of changes all at once, and now we're seeing the effects of those, the ripple effects of those, from not being sorted out to begin with before adding on, more systems to that. So, what do you have to say, OG?
Yeah, no, it's wild. It's wild. Look, the implementation has really kind of shown itself. Shown what these programs are. Again, on paper, it sounds great. It's like, it reminds me of, Dre? It reminds me kind of like applying for jobs. Yeah. I'm old enough to remember when I would apply for a job years and years ago. it was like standard. You would go, like, let's say you're a teenager, you want to apply at the mall, right? You want a summer job.
Sure.
You'd go into the store, you'd pick up a paper application, you'd fill it out, you'd go back to the store and hand it to the manager or whatever, right? Now everything is online. Now you go into those stores, they tell you, oh, go to our website and fill it out on the website. And in doing that, right, it's kind of like the Chapek effect, because it sounds better. Oh yeah, I can do it online. I can do it from my home. I can fill out 20 of these at 20 different stores at home, at the convenience of my home. But it's worse in implementation, because what happens is the old way was better, because when you filled it out and you went back to the store and you handed it in person, you had that connection. The manager saw you, got your energy, you could talk, vibe a little bit. Your chances of getting that job was actually better. Now you're a number. Now you're thrown into some database and your resume probably won't even be seen. It probably goes through some algorithm, right? Yeah. And that's what this reminds me of, where it's like on in theory, it sounds great. Oh, I can reserve a spot. I'm guaranteed a spot. I can do this. I can order this. But in implementation, it's not good. It actually hinders and creates more problems than benefit,
Oh, yeah. And, our mutual friend actually commented on this. It's like, look, this is a problem of their own creation with the influx of annual pass holders that we've seen for the last, I'd say 13 years or so, right? And this was their way of handling it, and that created even more problems. And it's like, you're not getting to the root of it, which is the accessibility of these passes through these monthly payments being why we're seeing the inflated annual pass numbers that we have been seeing, for so long. And until we solve that issue, every which way around this, I mean, you're just not going to get to the heart of the issue when it comes to straining the capacity on the Disneyland Resort as a whole. And when we went this past time, like I said, we all met Sunday. I almost didn't get in. Because I don't know if I mentioned to you guys on the day, but I almost didn't get in because the parks are booked. Parks are booked solid on that day, and I can't really disclose what actually happened to get me in. But I mean, we would have been out of luck. And later on, I think we spent something like maybe $450 at Blue Bayou, and it's like that sale wasn't going to actually take place had we not gone in. So it's like you're leaving money on the table, right? In my view, and this has happened. I mean, I understand it's an anecdotal experience, but how many stories like that actually play out from people who might be willing to spend money or might be willing to do things in the parks and use the parks in a different way than maybe a guest who is just kind of taking a reservation just to have it, canceling at the last minute, or coming down there, checking in, checking out, just so that they don't get penalized. How many of these stories are actually playing out when they're leaving money on the table through their processing, through their systems that they've established for themselves? I think it's that story really isn't being told.